Hey guys, Dwayne here. I want to talk a little bit about being afraid at the beginning of all this. And I know it may, not be a topic that seems really appropriate to talk about or to even acknowledge, but I think that it's important because I know for me, when this whole thing started, it was not a little, it was really overwhelming. When I began this, I thought I had an expectation of how I thought things were going to go. I thought we were going to be civil. I thought we were going to co-parent. I thought we were going to focus on building a good relationship for the good of our kids. Now, if you've dealt with anybody with a personality disorder before, and more than likely if you're at this channel, that's exactly what you're dealing with, then you know that I was really naive. What really happened was completely different, and it threw me for a loop, and it made me really afraid at the beginning of this process. I think for me, the main thing is all the smear campaign and all of the things that were being said and the stories that were being reported, I guess, about me, and how I was being portrayed as not a great father, that I really shouldn't have time with my children, that it would be in the best interest of my ex and the children for them to leave the state. I really got fearful that that was actually going to happen, that she would pull that off, that everyone would believe what was being said, the smear campaigns and all of that was going to be believed. And that can be so overwhelming. I mean, I was overtaken by emotions and fear. And the problem with that is when that starts to happen, we start to react emotionally instead of rationally. And I've talked about that before, but it's super critical at the beginning stages of this that we get control over our emotions and we see things for really how they are and not the way we're being told to see them, and not to believe all the fear and the catastrophe thinking that our mind is playing on us, and pretty much what the other attorneys in the court and all that stuff initially really puts upon us. So bottom line, when I look back at this, there's a bunch of things that I wish I would have known, right? And I mean, I know them now, and that's great, but it didn't really help me at the time. And I'm hoping that especially if you're in the beginning stages of this, that you can listen to some of these things and take a step back and take an objective view at your situation and look at things with them more clearly. Not everyone believes the smear campaign. I mean, just because your ex says something doesn't make it true. And if they say something that maybe has a little bit of fact in it, right? And I will tell you that these type of people are notorious for taking nuances out of situations and making them appear a completely different way. And from reading a lot of your guys' comments and emails that you've sent me and stuff, you guys have had a lot of the same experiences. And that's what I'm talking about. They can take any, and the reason I say that is it's highly possible that during your court documentation, they're going to come up with something that has some little piece of truth in it. Out of context, they can turn around and they can take that situation and they can make it true. But just because they say it, and just because maybe even there's a part of it out of context that might have some truth to it, doesn't mean that it's true, and it doesn't mean that everyone is going to believe it. Now, the problem with all this when we're going through this, our emotional reactions, I believe, is what really causes problems with our children, okay? Because they're already stressed about this. They're already confused. They're already, the smear campaign and the triangulation is already happening. And when we start reacting emotionally and we start basically being tense and stressed, our children pick up on that, and it just causes a whole set of additional problems with our kids that we really create ourselves. And bottom line, I know, looking back at it now, that if I would have been able to relax a little bit more about the situation, and I get that that's really hard to do, that things would have been a lot better with my kids. And bottom line, each day I reacted in fear. Each day that I got overwhelmed and I just, those emotions and that anxiety overtook me, basically added a day on to this whole process that I then had to basically recover from. What I'm talking about is either damage that you do within the court systems, damage you do with your children, damage you do with teachers, damage you do with, mutual friends and stuff like that, which bottom line, I know I've talked before, you should minimize your contact with mutual friends. But bottom line is it's like we dig our own hole. It's like they set a trap for us and then we walk into it and we do exactly what we shouldn't do that makes everything worse. And bottom line, these people have less power over us than we think at the time. So if you're in the middle of it right now and you feel completely overwhelmed, just take a pause, take a breath, and think about the fact that they really don't. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't be causing you a heck of a lot of problems. That doesn't mean they can't be financially destroying you. But at the end of the day, our reactions to what they do are really what empower them and give them that power. Bottom line, the key to all of this is no matter what our ex says or whatever they do, they don't have control over our minds and our thoughts. Now, they can implement a bunch of different things that set us down a certain thinking or a certain path, but ultimately we're the one. It's like they open the door and we have to walk through it, but it's our choice to walk through it. And I mean, guys, I get it. It's hard. I mean, when your buttons are being pushed and everything's coming at you, your gut instincts is to react, right? Your gut instincts is to either defend yourself, to run, to respond to the situation because it's so personal, because it's so encompassing of your life. And it's really important. I'm not negating that. I'm not saying that it's not. But what happens is we get so wrapped up into it that we start reacting instead of, responding in an appropriate way. And every time we do that, every time we fall victim to that, and guys, they're going to do that. They are going, that is the situation. They'll plant basically a little bomb. So when you have your kids, something will happen to try to get your emotions to flip so that you respond or you interact with your kids in a negative way. And if you can detect that, if you can recognize that, if you can take steps to minimize their power over you, then their effectiveness on that goes down. Our children want to love both parents, which means they want to love you. So no matter what the other person is saying, and your kids may be picking sides, they may be angry at you, but underneath all of that, they do care about you. They do love you. They want you to love them. If your ex is trying to say that you abandoned the family, that you don't care about the family, or that you don't care about their mom or whoever the other parent is, they're going to feel defensive about it. But what you have to do is you have to focus building that relationship with them. You have to focus on their needs and focus on communicating and showing them that you do care about them, that they are important, that you do love them, and that begins to negate everything that the ex is trying to say and do. The thing is when they start doing that smear campaign and they start triangulating us with the kids and we take that bait, that's when things get really complicated. That's when we start reinforcing the narrative that the ex is saying and causing our kids to start thinking, well, maybe in my situation, maybe mommy's right? And in your situation, it may be maybe daddy's right. So we have to focus on that. And I firmly believe at the end of the day, it's our own actions that really destroy the relationship with our kids. Our exes have, they do an excellent job of trying to perpetuate that. And I went through the same thing. I mean, I went through an entire period where my son started therapy with the primary reason that he had an estranged relationship with his biological father. And the problem is that my actions, because of all this, because I took the bait, because I responded emotionally, because I was scared and fearful of what was going to happen out of this, it slowly undermined the relationship that I already had with my son. Now, just because of the drama that was happening when I was in the house and I was still married, there was some tense situations with the relationship anyways, but then rolling into it and me getting really worried and really fearful about what was going to happen just made that considerably worse. I know now that had I responded differently, had I not done all those, had I not taken the bait, had I not, fallen for those traps, I could have sped up the time for building or recovering that relationship with my own kids. Bottom line, guys, it is absolutely normal to be really afraid at the beginning of this. I mean, this is a serious situation. When things start happening and all that stuff starts coming at you, it can feel completely overwhelming, and that's normal, right? But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get under your skin. They're trying to control your emotions. They're trying to get you to react in the way that they want you to react to justify or validate what they're trying to say. And these guys are masters at controlling our emotions. That's what they've been watching us to know how to do that. We just have to recognize that, take a step back, take that power back away from them, and turn the tide of this whole thing. And it can be done. All right, guys, before I wrap this video up, I want to say that later today at 6 p.m., I will be doing another live stream. So please join me for that. That's 6 Pacific. So depending on your time zone, we'll start that up. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on your perspective of being afraid during the beginning stages of this. Leave those in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe, and I'll chat with you guys on the next video. Take care.